Welcome everyone to another video, and in this video I'm going to be doing an analysis of the comparison of Lapras versus the field. I'm going to be analyzing what I believe is the four best movesets for Lapras in the Tempest Cup meta. A couple of them are legacy, and then one of them does not contain any legacy movesets, and you'll see how they fare and how they compare. So I've broken this down into four movesets, as I said: Ice Shard, Surf, Ice Beam. Both Ice Shard and Ice Beam are being legacy. Ice Shard, Surf, and Blizzard. Water Gun, Surf, and Ice Beam, and then Water Gun, Surf, and Blizzard, which contains no legacy movesets. And I've done this analysis with no shields, each Pokemon using one shield, each Pokemon using two shields, and then the field that I'm comparing against are Altaria with Dragon Breath, Sky Attack, and Dragon Pulse, Skarmory with Air Slash, Sky Attack, Flash Cannon, Tropius with Razor Leaf, Leaf Blade, Aerial Ace, Abomasnow with Razor Leaf, Energy Ball, Outrage, Quagsire with Mud Bomb, Earthquake, and Stone Edge, Lantern with Charge Beam, Thunderbolt, and Hydro Pump, and then Lantern with Water Gun, Thunderbolt, and Hydro Pump, Celio with Powder Snow, Body Slam, and Aurora Beam, Steelix with Dragon Tail, Crunch, and Earthquake, and then a non-legacy Lapras with Water Gun, Surf, and Blizzard. So if we take a look at the Altaria matchup, you'll see that with no shields, it doesn't matter which fast move you use or which charge move they use. It's a fairly convincing win, and that's because Altaria is going to feint to Ice Beam or Blizzard. It does slightly favor when you use Ice Beam because of the cheaper energy, and does slightly favor Ice Shard because it's going to charge Ice Beam and Blizzard a little bit quicker. While when we look at one shield, you'll see that the situation is very different, and that's because Altaria is double super effective or double weak to ice while it resists Water Gun, and because of the shielding, Altaria is able to do a lot of damage with Dragon Breath over the period of time that they're both alive and surviving. And this results in a very even matchup when using Water Gun, and a very dominant matchup when using Ice Shard. And then when you look at two shields, you'll see that Water Gun, Surf, and Ice Beam actually lose to Altaria. Water Gun, Surf, and Blizzard are even. And then Ice Shard, Surf, and Ice Beam, and Ice Shard, and Surf, and Blizzard are very dominant wins to Lapras. So when it comes to Altaria, you do prefer to run Ice Shard. When it comes to Skarmory, you're looking at Air Slash, Sky Attack, and Flash Cannon. You're looking at a fairly even matchup, except for when it's Water Gun, Surf, and Blizzard with no shields, and that's because Blizzard is the most efficient charge move out of Surf, Ice Beam, and Blizzard, and because of that damage energy efficiency, it allows it to not it does overkill Skarmory regardless, but it results in that stronger, more energy, resulting in a faster KO. So in that particular scenario, Water Gun, Surf, and Blizzard is the best when there's no shields. While looking at one shield scenario, you'll see it's like fairly even, a fairly even matchup across the board. And then you'll see here with two shields that Ice Shard, Surf, and Blizzard is actually the worst in this particular scenario, and that's probably because of the higher energy cost. That's not necessarily necessary with Ice Shard, or the fact that Water Gun does enough damage to feint Skarmory. When we look at Tropius, you'll see that with Ice Shard, Surf, and Ice Beam, when there's no shields, it's an even matchup. And then all the other scenarios result in a less favorable matchup. Ice Shard, Surf, and Blizzard only fare pretty well because Ice Shard does deal double super effective damage, but it's unable to get to the Blizzard. When we look at one shield scenarios, you'll see it's an even matchup with Ice Beam and Blizzard, and that's because Ice Shard is doing a lot of damage to Tropius. And when we look at two shield scenarios, even Ice Shard loses to Tropius in that particular scenario, and then Water Gun is just has no hope against Tropius. So that's something that you need to take into consideration as well. And again, that factors into the nuance of being double super effective with ice and then resisted by water. And we look at Abomasnow with Razor Leaf, Energy Ball, and Outrage. You'll see that whenever you're using Ice Beam, it's a little bit more favorable matchup, and that's because of the high energy cost of or how many turns it takes to get to Energy Ball or Outrage on Lapras. In this case, probably Energy Ball, and in that case, you're able to get to Ice Beam first before the Energy Ball. But when you look at one shield scenario, Abomasnow absolutely dominates. And it's not even particularly close. And then when you look at two shield scenarios, it's very similar. It probably doesn't even get to two shields, and that's probably why the results are very similar. When you look at Quagsire, you'll see that it's a favorable matchup for everything except for Water Gun, Surf, and Ice Beam. And it's an even matchup with Ice Shard, Surf, and Ice Beam. Again, that comes down to the more energy efficient Blizzard. And in this case, Blizzard, Ice Beam, Surf are all neutral because they're super effective to the ground typing, but resisted by the water typing. When you look at a one shield scenario, you'll see that Lapras does well against all the again in using any of the movesets, and that's because of the neutral damage, and while Mudshot is doing very little damage to Lapras. And then when you take a look at the two shield scenario, you'll see that there's basically a slight favoring of Lapras, except for when it comes to Ice Shard, Surf, and Blizzard, and that's because it's an even matchup in that particular case. When you look at Lantern with Charge Beam, Thunderbolt, and Hydro Pump, you'll see that Lantern dominates pretty much the entire matchups, and it goes back and forth depending on which movesets is able to generate enough energy or do enough damage. But Lantern resists both Ice Shard and Water Gun and Surf and Blizzard. And when you look at Water Gun, Thunderbolt, and Hydro Pump, you'll see that it's very similar situation in that case. But when you do two shield scenario, it gets a little bit closer to even matchup, and that's because Water Gun is neutral to Lapras. When you look at Celio, you'll see that it's a slight losing matchup, regardless of moveset. When it comes to Celio, it does favor Water Gun over Ice Shard, and the main reason because of that is that Water Gun is only single resisted by Celio, while Ice Shard is double resisted by Celio because of its ice and water typing, ice resisting and water resisting, while only water resists water and ice doesn't. And then when you look at the one shield scenario, you'll see that it still favors Celio, but you'll see that the fast move damage difference is starting to show between Ice Shard and Water Gun. And then you'll see in a two shield scenario, Water Gun, Surf, Ice Beam, or Water Gun, Surf, and Blizzard. In this case, you're using Surf as the fast move. Overcomes Celio, Powder Snow, Body Slam, and Aurora Beam. When it comes to Steelix, you'll see that you're just gonna spam Surf anyway, so it doesn't matter what fast move you're using, because you're gonna be able to feint Steelix fairly quickly with Surf. While under a one shield scenario, you'll see there that it favors Water Gun, again, because Water Gun is super effective against Steelix ground typing. While Ice is also super effective, Steelix's steel typing does make that Ice moves neutral. And then you'll see that it's also transparent in the two shield scenario, where you're just spamming Water Guns and dealing a lot of damage to Steelix. When it comes to non-legacy Lapras, you'll see that there's Water Gun, Surf, Blizzard, and then in particular case, it's obviously going to be a neutral matchup, an even matchup when you're running Water Gun, because water is essentially the same moveset, and they're both going to spam Surf. And while Ice Shard, again, like we talked about Celio, Lapras being an Ice Water type is going to double resist Lapras. And then under one shield scenario, you'll see it play out where it favors the Water Gun user over the Ice Shard user. And you'll see the same thing there. And then overall, you'll see that it's a fairly even matchup. In this case, under the no shield scenario, Ice Beam, Surf, and Ice Shard does come out on top, but it's fairly close. And that's because of the more dominating wins against particular opponents, or the less costly loss. So, for example, against Altaria and Tropius, you'll see that Ice Shard, Surf, and Ice Beam is really key, because Ice Beam being a lower energy move, and then Ice Shard being double super effective does come out a little bit ahead. But interesting, when you look at the one shield scenario, you'll see that Ice Shard, Surf, and Blizzard comes out on top. And then when you look at the 2 shield scenario, you'll see that Water Gun, Surf, and Blizzard comes out on top. So again, Lapras is going to be really useful against the field. Again, I showed up against like a lot of really tough matchups for Lapras, but Lapras is gonna have like very good 1v1 matchups against a lot of the field, and then you can play out different shield scenarios depending on how you want to use Lapras. But even if you don't have a Legacy Lapras, it does fairly well and is comparable to Legacy Lapras. Again, I've only shown against a couple Pokemon. There's obviously other Pokemon that you may encounter, like Charizard, for example, would play out differently, where Water Gun would be favored even more because of Water being super effective against Charizard, while Ice Shard only being neutral. So it's going to play out in different matchups. So I definitely recommend that you check out PvPoke or Poke Battler for different moveset calculations and matchup calculations, but I just want to demonstrate in this video that that Lapras is going to be a viable Pokemon, regardless if you have a Legacy one or not. And I'm going to turn over to the battle portion, or I'm going to show some sort of simulation between various movesets of Lapras. So I'm going to leave it there, and hopefully you guys enjoy. Welcome everyone to the demonstration portion of this video. I'm going to be using a Water Gun Lapras, a Water Gun Blizzard, Ice Shard Ice Beam, and Water Gun Ice Beam Lapras that are at 1500 or close to 1500, just under 1500 limit, with these various legacy and non-legacy movesets. So here I'm going up against Abomasnow with Razor Leaf and Energy Ball, and you'll see that there's no way I was going to get to Blizzard with Lapras, so I decided to do a Water Gun there, and then do an Ice Beam with the Ice Shard and Ice Beam Lapras. And you'll see that Ice Shard Ice Beam and Water Gun Ice Beam both do fairly well against Abomasnow. And next we're going up against Altaria. And for the most part we're going to go, or for all three of them, we're going to go for the Water move. So let's see how this goes. Looks like we're going to get hit by Sky Attack before we get the Charge move off, which makes sense. That's going to happen. So let's see here. Gonna hit this Ice Beam at relatively the same time between Ice Shard and Water Gun, and then the Blizzard comes later. And we're running these demonstrations with no shields, and you'll see that Altaria gets one-shotted, whether it's Ice Beam or Blizzard that's coming. Let's see what comes next. I believe it's Quagsire. It's gonna go straight into the battle here. Quagsire with Mudshot Stone Edge, and then you'll see here. Our objective is, for the most part, to hit Surfs, I think. Yeah, we go for Surf here. The Stone Edge comes before the Water Gun could get to the Surf, which is fine, as expected. And then on the Water Gun Blizzard, we're going to hit Blizzard here. And then Blizzard's going to one-shot, or almost, no, actually not quite one-shot, but almost one-shot. Almost beat Quagsire. So, and you'll see it's like fairly close matches in all these scenarios. Okay, all right. Now we're on to Skarmory, and then Skarmory has Air Slash, Sky Attack. Let's see how we do here. And we get hit by Air Slash or Sky Attack here. And then we're going to hit the Ice Beam and Blizzard accordingly. And let's see how much damage they do. See if it's enough damage. And Water Gun Blizzard beats Skarmory here. And then Ice Shard is able to get to the Surf and then beat Skarmory as expected. But you'll see it's fairly close matchups here. So we're going in here. Let's see how this does. This is Tropius, I want to say. Yep, Tropius. So again, we expect the Ice Shard Ice Beam to be a very close match, and then we expect the other two not to be very close matches at all. So let's see here. I'm going to hit the Surf while we can. And you'll see there I had the full Ice Beam ready. Just depends on move priority at that point in time. It's the same move. In this case, the Tropius got the move priority. But if it was reversed, then it'd be the other way around. So Hopefully you guys found these videos helpful. If you guys did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see everyone in the next video.